And we are live with the second week of the European Challengers Cup, featuring myself and Shadowboy as the casters. How are you doing today, Shadowboy?
I'm doing just fine. Really excited to see this event. I mean, today has already been such an exciting moment. Being able to, just cast a wonderful tournament. Thanks again to a lot of the sponsors and everything like that provided a little extra support, especially owlheadstudios.com, providing this wonderful graphic. As you already see it showing its effects here. First bands coming out, Kepri and Susano.
Yeah, not really unsurprising. Susano, incredibly difficult to deal with. Brings a lot of power to the table. He's incredibly difficult to lock down. And like I said, tons of power and a lot of ways to just kill you before you can even blink. So all in all, no real reason to see him on the table at all today. Otherwise, it's seeing Raiden come out right now as a ban.
Raiden's a pretty respectable ban here. White Wolves already thinking on this next move. Team Albatross, however, banning out Ao Kwang. This does leave a couple of options open. White Wolves could take the approach of picking up a priority support like Athena, or they could take a different approach, and it looks like they're going to go for the Geb. So priority support, but not the one that they necessarily wanted, or not the one that I necessarily thought.
Not the one we thought it would be, but Geb still a very big priority support, a lot of engaged tools, and a very, very big peel tool in the form of a shield. So all in all, a really respectable pick in any way you want to pick it. Hu Yi as well being locked in here for Team Albatross. And he's become one of the staple hunters since Season 3, it seems.
Golden Bow made so many AD carries very strong. Team Albatross already shaping up to have a pretty strong team composition. Athena being able to taunt people back into the Sunbreaker for Hu Yi is going to bring a lot of team fight potential, especially in these earlier moments of the game, rather than waiting until a late game opportunity where someone like Shiba Lanke would really take off. So Team Albatross shaping up very nicely. White Wolves answering in suit with a Neith pickup already, and possibly going to go ahead and elect for a jungler here, and it appears that they're going to go for the Rama.
So Ravana being locked in right there. Probably going to be using the solo lane here, but we could see it locked in as that jungler possibility. But I think it's more likely to see him just come out in the bike, just kind of bust out in the solo lane, try to bring a lot of pressure in there, as he does hit fairly hard early on. And he might discourage a few of the tankier warrior picks, as he is fairly adept at shredding through them. But now down to the final pick for this phase for Team Albatross, and looks like they're going to go for the Scylla in the mid.
Still a high skill capacity character, one of those that you just have to do well with landing your abilities. Otherwise, she's a completely useless character. If you can't land I'm a monster consistently, or even get very decent crushes, it's going to be very difficult for you to really win any team fight. But with Athena there on the table, and they still have a solo laner and a jungler left to pick on Team Albatross, I feel like they can draft a team very aiding towards the Scylla.
Especially with Athena, like you said, they've already got a really nice team comfort, just getting Scylla off the ground and keeping her going and just setting up these massive combos for her, which Scylla is all about. And what kind of jungler are you really looking forward to seeing that would pair well with the Scylla here? Who's going to set her up the best?
Thor.
Feel?
Easily Thor.
Well, obviously, Thor.
I mean, Thor is just such a dynamic character. He brings that global presence. He brings the double stuns. He brings a lot of earlier damage so that they can take a little bit of pressure off of the Scylla until they get to a later stage of the game. Janus Band coming out from Team Albatross, very, very smart. Take away some of their global presence potential. So far, all they have is Neith on the side of White Wolves. But all around, I think Team Albatross has a good thing going here, and rightfully so. Team Albatross has 35 points on the roster so far. They've done a very good job so far in the tournament, whereas White Wolves only has 10.
So I'm definitely expecting Team Albatross to be the team coming out here this week and walk through here. But White Wolves definitely they want to have something to prove here. As we get towards the second round of picks, we're going to see Guan Yu, the first lock-in for Team Albatross, and that's definitely going to be the solo laner right there. He's going to provide a lot of sustain in these team fights. Going to make it really difficult for White Wolves to actually fight through them now.
White Wolves need to pick something good here. They need something to allow for solid disengage. There's a lot of team fight potential on Team Albatross, and I don't really know if White Wolves have drafted enough to set themselves up accordingly. Ravana is a very face-forward style character, and Hercules, they lock it in, is another face-forward style character. So both of those guys are going to be pretty much all in the face of Team Albatross's backline, and I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it successfully enough to win some of these team fights.
It's a tough backline to dive. Like, that's going to be the difficult part for White Wolves right here. It's a tough backline to dive. Scylla can be incredibly safe if you decide to play her as such. Hu Yi has to dive bomb to get out of danger. He's got an Athena peeling for him if needed, and Guan Yu will be providing heals. It's going to be really difficult to just crack through the front line of, well, Team Albatross as well. And there you go, like you called it, Shadowboy, Thor going to come out as the jungler for Team Albatross. And this is one of the best team fight comps I'm seeing coming out here out of Albatross.
I mean, we talked about it earlier. Team Albatross has the Hu Yi and Scylla to bring in a lot of AoE damage or a lot of just high burst damage. And with the stun potential between all three front lines on the side of Team Albatross, they've got more than enough potential to actually decimate any character they catch out of position on the side of White Wolves. Chronos will not be able to use his ultimate if he's CC locked long enough, and there's more than enough on Team Albatross's side. However, White Wolves have drafted a team that can be fairly annoying in the late game as well. Chronos doing a lot of damage, Hercules being a really tough character to kill, and Geb providing a lot of sustainability for some of these hyper damage dealers.
Luckily for Albatross, though, it's not a ticking time bomb that we see out of a lot of these normal late game teams. It's still going to be incredibly annoying and incredibly difficult to deal with, but this just means it's going to be a little bit more of a balanced late game we're seeing here. So honestly, Shadboy, where do you think the big point for the game is going to be for both teams? Like I said, you said late game will do it for White Wolves. Where does Albatross have to take it?
I think Team Albatross is going to take it in the mid game. That's just where they're going to be able to excel, with Thor being again that dynamic character that we mentioned earlier. He's going to be able to set up a lot of good team fights, either in the dual lane or the middle lane. Solo lane is going to be a wash. That's just how it is. Guan Yu versus Hercules, that's sustained city, and the only thing Guan Yu is going to struggle with is clearing, maybe, depending on how Hercules approaches the first few waves. But other than that, a lot of these fights are going to happen over towards the dual lane. Athena has a very forward mentality in terms of setting up fights for Thor and the Hou, whereas Neith and Geb aren't going to be as good about being aggressors. And Ravana in the jungle, I don't see him really making a huge impact either at the earlier stages of the game.
All right, we'll get to find out soon enough as we already have the game ready and ready to go. We'll be right back with more Challenger Cup action. Do stay tuned. This is the second week of the European Challengers Cup. We'll be right back. And we are live with the first game of the day, featuring Albatross and White Wolves facing off against each other. Picks and bans have already been delegated, and it looks like it's going to be a Ravana in the jungle instead of Hercules bring out that solo lane here. And Banana might be caught out. Actually, Captain Odie going to deal a lot of damage. He's stuck inside there, and he's going to be forced to teleport away, half his health down, trying to back off right now. And Banna has to play it safe here. Needs to just run away and back later.
I like that he went ahead and just immediately made the decision. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and get my one. Don't want to sit here and deal with too much damage. I really don't like the idea of chasing this Hercules. You're not going to get much done. He still has a driving strike. He may be the only one here, and wow, he is annoying. He may be the only one here, but at this point, you're just wasting a lot of effort. Captain Odie doing a fantastic job of just being a nuisance. However, he might lose out a little bit if the Thor and Guan Yu are able to get the speed and blue at the same rate that they would have without Hercules' interference. We'll see how that plays out.
He's going to set the jungler for Albatross back a decent little bit right here. And actually, Captain Odie and Alejandro want to start a fight here. Both of them are at half health on the side of Albatross. They're going to get this, no question, unless Banna. Yeah, they're able to get out safely, but they're going to get a buff nonetheless. So, blue buff is being stolen away here from Team Albatross by White Wolves right there. Oh, Captain Odie and Alejandro playing quite aggressively to start things off in a very positive way.
Still a good response, though, from the Guan Yu and the Thor. They went ahead, went over the lane, cleared the wave, and now Thor's backing just to make sure that he can go over to a different part of the map and make sure that he maintains farm ratio to his opposing jungler. He doesn't want to get too far behind. He realizes that there was a little bit of a loss there, but mitigating the losses is what jungling's all about. You give some, you take some.
Yeah, mistakes will happen eventually. You're not going to have the perfect win all the time, and a good response from Albatross, despite White was making a very good play to kick off the game, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, Team Albatross did a fantastic job of responding to a situation. I think White Wolves, I give the bigger applause just because they know that Thor's going to be a big issue, so they went ahead, set him behind a little bit, and now he's going to be a little bit slower to get to that level 5 marker and possibly hurt the duo lane in a very impactful way. So this is going to push back the time clock of the ultimate for Thor, making it a little bit more difficult for Team Albatross to take off.
It's also going to slow the danger of a Scylla combo early on as well. So Scylla's going to have less of a chance of absolutely going off early on in the game off the back of a really good ultimate combo with Thor. So all in all, it's a really nice snowball around the map just by slowing it down.
Over in the solo lane, a little bit of poke coming out, and actually it looks like Welsh Wonder could go down here. No ability available by Captain Odie, so he's not going to be able to get anything done. But meanwhile, over in the dual lane, a little bit of exchanging going on as well. So Team Albatross and White Wolves already off to a pretty aggressive start despite not having an extremely aggressive early game team comp on either side.
It's about sending a message to these teams right now. Both of them really need to get these seed points. They really need to get out of these first few rounds so they don't get the bare minimum here. And this is the thing that's going to separate them moving into these later weeks here. So they want to start off strong. They want to send a big message. And Captain Odie doing a really solid job of that, staying in Welsh Wonder's face 24/7 in the dual lane as well, constantly getting back and forth with each other, not necessarily able to gain a discernible advantage yet, but well, as we near level 5, this is all going to change in an instant, most likely.
So over in the dual lane, it looks like Yi as well as Athena are pushed back to tower, have been able to really get out of that position. He's still a very strong wave clear god, very hard to compete with her, especially when she herself has the throwing dagger start on top of her already innately strong kit when it comes to wave clear.
You gotta watch out for that very deceptive burst damage as well. You don't want to walk up to those waves and get caught by a Spirit Arrow Weave combo. She can take a lot of damage down very, very quickly. So Albatross doing a good job respecting that damage potential. You will see an arrow fired off across the... No, only charged up, not yet. But even then, the big flank coming on through. Gonna get the pincer possibly here, but Akor a little bit low. Going to bounce down. Will find Rastafari there with a few shots, but mostly disengages on the map. Banna goes up in the air, looking for his way down. Alejandro CT at the camp, but instead they're going straight for Geb. Here's an illogical spin to win, hitting so many, but he's stunned down immediately. Banna so low right now, but it's going to be Scylla getting the 1, the 2. Now looking for Chronos. He's going to go low, but he will find his way out of that one with the ultimate. And we're going to see Albatross off to a huge start. Both kills going over to Scylla, too. She's not looking to stop here. Lee may find one more, but it's mostly just poke for now. And Team Albatross gonna go huge.
Huge win indeed for Team Albatross. I mean, there's so many things that went well for them in that fight. Unfortunately, White Wolves didn't respond accordingly. They had the advantage. They had the entirety of Team Albatross split up in a 2-2 format. There was no easy answer for Team Albatross to come back in there. But unfortunately for White Wolves, they disengaged at awkward intervals. They saw that their dual lane was sticking around in the jungle part, and the mid laner as well as the jungler started to head back to the middle lane, and that set up Thor for a perfect opportunity to set up a kill for Scylla. But unfortunately for him, he's going to be taken out, as well as Captain Odie being taken out by Coffee from the Athena ultimate. So a 1-for-1 trade over in the solo lane.
Captain Odie showing up as a fairly shining light for his team, but still going to take the punishment here. Team Albatross are going to abuse that extra bit of global pressure they have, and Coffee brings a lot of damage early game with that Athena ultimate. You can't really afford to underestimate it. Even if that wasn't used, I feel Odie wasn't in a rough position to get out, so it would have been a close call for him. But all in all, Albatross looking quite nice here. Have evened up the gold just a little bit. White Wolves still hold a very minor lead. There's some farm advantages across the map mostly.
I think the one thing that I'm noticing the most is Scylla got 2 kills in the early game, and the only reason that's really impactful to me, outside of the fact that she obviously gets a big XP boost and is probably going to be really impactful in the middle game, is the fact that Chronos went for the purple pot start. So he actually is effectively 450 gold behind the Scylla in terms of gold and itemization, just simply because he kind of didn't get really much done with that other than sustainable wave clear.
Another nice thing about that as well is it's going to be slowing down one of the late game carries. It's late game versus late game in the mid lane right now, and if your carry has the leg up on the enemies, you're going to get ahead here, and Banna wants to keep that trend going, looking for Captain Odie, doesn't want to let him get off, and they will stun him out. Now he will be caught in the spin to win, gonna throw the boulder about, but Banna not dealing enough damage.
Oh, she's going for it!
She's looking for it, she's gonna find it! Legshare going to find another shot with the Amamon. Now he's at 3-for-0 right there, 6 minutes in, looking incredibly massive so far.
Immediate Gold Fury call from White Wolves. They want to try and get a good response, but they know that the rotations are way too quick from the members of Team Albatross. No ultimate available for Thor, but they still have to respect the damage potential that all those characters do bring. And with their characters, with one of their members down, it's not a very safe bet. However, I will say this. We talked about it. Scylla being confident in hitting her own abilities is the big factor, and she's shown that she is more than confident. She is more than capable. She will be a big factor as we move forward in this game.
He has the skill to back up the confidence, and it is paying off in spades right now. You can't be afraid of your opponents. You got to go in there, and well, he's taking the shots and hitting them pretty consistently. And that is the miracle here for Albatross, and they can ride that wave all the way to the end here if they want to. Even then, the rest of their team is performing quite admirably around it, and Banna is still 2 levels behind his opponent's opposing jungler, but I think he's made enough impact around the map to have made up for that early deficit that he was in.
So Team Albatross leading the charge, only up by about 10 or so gold. No Gold Fury attempts seriously committed. There was that one time where White Wolves went for it, but over in the dual lane, Cataclysm used beads, popped immediately by Yi, realizing that that would have spelled doom for him had he have stayed through that CCJ. Neith charging her World Weaver. Are they going to go onto the Scylla? It looks like that might be the call, but rather than that, they're going to go ahead and back off. She might have been caught in a bad position, though, and now Thor going up into the air. There's a lot of people chasing her. Sprint used. There's the dunk. There's the kill. That's going to go over to Maybe no one. She might actually wiggle out. She is going to be able to escape. That's going to be Neith weaving and dodging to get out of a bad spot. Using the World Weaver to try and set up a kill onto Thor. Not going to be able to get Athena just to make sure that he survives as Geb makes his way down. And a whole big rotation from White Wolves.
They've got enough for a dive right here if they want to go for it right here. It's going to be a dangerous because everybody's incredibly low, but White Wolves can make it happen in your leg. Going to come over from the side, Scylla raining quite a bit of damage here. Will be forced to back away as Alejandro will deal enough damage to him. So backing off once again, the dive will be dissuaded. Harrison needs to roll away from this one, and that he will do. A very, very close call for both sides, but the purification was absolutely perfect from Rastafari right there. Waited for all the crowd to come out at once, and he stopped every single bit of CC that hit him at once. He stopped the Thor stun. He stopped the Hu Yi bounce shot that would have stunned him right there. He completely negated everything that hit him all in one and managed to wiggle his way out of that one. It was incredibly well timed and just saved his life and nearly turned the fight around for White Wolves, actually.
Well, I really respect that White Wolves didn't dive that tower because Athena still had enough mana and still had the cooldowns for a taunt and was still on the way. That always spells for a bad day.
Especially once they saw Scylla. They made the right call to hold off on it, wait to see if there was a rotation. And all in all, it was a very safe call and a good one I can expect, especially since it is still an even game.
Yeah, it's an even game right now, but it could easily change into it could easily change into a loss depending on.
There's still a worrying trend going on with the fact that Scylla is up 3-0 right now, and that's the part that White Wolves kind of have to worry about in the back row line right now. It can be dealt with as long as Ravana is able to actually find his way into the back line and deal with the fact that even though Scylla is incredibly able to deal with the Scylla, but even then, it's still a dangerous proposition right now for White Wolves.
So despite not being able to use the Tower of Soul effectively over and over again, Guan Yu hasn't done a bad job of keeping up with Thor. He is behind. That's just the nature of the matchup. It's very hard for you to keep up in wave clear when your main wave clear ability can get canceled out very easily and very effectively by a driving strike. But he has done a decent job of keeping up in experience, which is the most important factor.
And gold as well, only about 200 down, and honestly, a lot of that lends to the fact that he's been very active on the map. He's also sitting at 2 assists currently to Hercules. 1 kill, so it is kind of leaning a bit towards Hercules. But even then, he's done a very solid job just keeping himself alive and afloat in this lane. And as Guan Yu, that's all he really needs to do. He's going to contribute to these late game fights, so why worry about the fact that he doesn't have a kill? Why worry about getting out clear? He's going to be fine later.
Taking a look at the builds real quick. Ravana going for the Frostbound Hammer after the Warrior Tab Eye. So Jungle Ravana kind of focusing on auto attacks so far. He wants to slow down some of these characters on the opposite end and lock them down. But again, you mentioned the backline is really hard to catch on the side of Team Albatross. They've got a lot of mobility on the 2 hyper carries, and even right now when Thor is not tanky, he's still got more than enough mobility to avoid Ravana. If he chooses to do so.
And he's got enough ways to actually separate Robin from his backline as well. He's got the wall, he's got the stun. He has enough damage to actually peel some of that away. So it's getting a lot harder to dive the backline. Just the fact that front line, while not super tanky, like you said, is still an incredible menace and needs to be watched and dealt with just about everybody on White Wolves right now. And we're going to see this possibly happen here as a small skirmish about to break out inside the jungle on the solo lane side. We're going to see a blink in, Cataclysm hitting 2 right there, and now the 4th man rotating over as well from White Wolves. We're going to see one shot railing across the sky, going to catch Coffee, but everybody on the side of Team Albatross has some way out of this fight and will slip out of White Wolves' fingers once again. Blue buff going to be stolen away by the White Wolves. They might overstay their welcome though as Albatross wants to find a fight. Bound, not quite landing, but doing more than enough to Harrison right there, especially when comboed with the Crush. And Albatross definitely striking back when it comes to damage right now.
Yeah, there was a lot of investment just to get a blue buff there. I honestly would say that might be a loss for Team Albatross, but with Hoi rotating as hard as he did, it might have still become a little bit of a win. Now we're going to see the big rotations transition over to the middle lane as a lot of people on the side of White Wolves are making their way around the map, not exactly sure where to go. Soul Laners went back to doing their Soul Lane slap battle.
And one thing I actually praise we near the 12-minute mark here, despite the kill count being 1-4, with First Blood actually winning Team Albatross, White Wolves have played an incredible farm game so far, and have honestly been on top of the jungle clear. So I gotta say, their gold lead actually at this time is fairly impressive. Despite only being like 400.
I think I'm more so impressed with Scylla being able to just buy Book of Thoth and casually.
That's more terrifying than impressive.
I mean, but still, at this early stage of the game, Book of Thoth is not something you normally would be able to get away with
Mhm.
this early. In fact, sometimes you would rush it, and that's the fact that's the part that's getting me the most, is that she already has the shoes of the match. So she's already got a little bit of penetration and a huge amount of power, and then on top of that, just Book of Thoth. So what was a scary character now just became absolutely terrifying.
And that's going to be the part that White Wolves constantly have to fear in the back of their head here. They need to find someone to deal with this, and they need to find it fairly quickly, as Scylla is going to spike incredibly hard a lot earlier than people are used to seeing this happen. So I want to see how White Wolves are going to handle this right now.
Wow, right into Soul Reaver. That is bold. All right, so going from the Book of Thoth into the Soul Reaver.
A lot of confidence.
Yeah, a lot of confidence, a lot of damage. It's pretty much going to burst down Geb whenever they choose, if they so choose to focus on him, because that's one of the ways that you can really cripple a team, is if your front line can't do frontline things because your regular abilities on the side of the DPS mage is obliterating him, then there's no real point to having a front line. You effectively have nothing softening the blow of the team fighting team coming after you. So that's a real big loss for White Wolves if they cannot have Geb be bulky enough to deal with the Scylla damage. Speaking of Scylla damage, he's not going to be able to deal with any damage. He's going to be taken out immediately, and that's I'm a Monster missing really anybody. Ravana comes back in, does a little bit of damage. He's able to take out Thor. Neith is charging her World Weaver. Who's she going to land it on? Nobody just yet. They're going to back off both sides, and it looks like everybody, all said and done, it's a 1-for-1 jungler for support.
A quick response from White Wolves, going to actually peel that fight back to a dead even once. All things considered, a good play from them. A Monster, unfortunately, not hitting any target. They're being channeled a little bit too late there and just smacking down on the corpse of the support there. So, all in all, Team Albatross going to be walking away from this one. All right with getting the kill, but a little bit annoyed at not finding the other one here, as now Coffee still looking for something around the map here. Going to be trying to rotate over to Welsh Wonder right now, and not too much going on right here. They're going to be able to clear out this wave, maybe start something here. As Coffee actually going for the taunt onto Hercules, taunts him out of the shield right there. This is going to back off completely, but both pulled in by Castanodi, dragging them back to the dead zone possibly. Boulder gets tossed, and Coffee going to get obliterated before his ultimate comes on down. And now Welsh Wonder left alone in the dark, needs to just sit down and clear out that wave. As the White Wolves clear out the gold tree on the other side of the map, still Thor dunks it, but he's a little bit too late. Gonna get crushed by Rastafari as well at the end of that one. And now Team Albatross taking a pretty big loss after that.
I'm really confused why they wanted to aggress on a Ravana and a Hercules. That was a very curious decision. I mean, that wasn't really a win. There was no damage, or at least not enough damage between Guan Yu and Athena to take out two of the bulkiest characters on the side of White Wolves. And because of that...
Sorry, go ahead.
Because of that huge investment, they actually ended up losing Gold Fury and losing any kind of huge advantage they had out of having a bulky Scylla.
And I was going back to say, there really wasn't a need for it either, so that's the even more confusing part. And I'm a little bit worried this actually might come back to just hurt them quite a bit later on, as White Wolves already have been close enough to a lead and closing out, but now they've got a fairly sizable lead of about 3,000. It's not all concentrated on one character, but there's a lot of gold spread around the map here, and across the board, they outpower a lot of Team Albatross.
Team Albatross has two big factors that I think are weighing down. One of which is their Thor, who's level 11, tied with the support on Team Albatross. 4-level difference between the junglers, just because Thor had a huge issue trying to farm up in the early stage of the game from that blue invasion. And then on top of that, the AD carry hasn't necessarily had much of an impact. He has 3 assists, so he's been doing fairly well, but Neith is still a little bit more impactful because of the World Weaver. It's not a discredit towards the player on Team Albatross's AD carry. It's more so just a recognition that at this stage of the game, Neith is just going to do more.
And even if he doesn't hit a fire off that World Weaver, he has been able to hold it like a gun to the head of Team Albatross here. They have to worry about it. And the surprising thing is the team that does have the big carry is actually the one feeling the stress a bit more of being behind. They're trying to make these plays, and I think that's actually what led to the attempt on the Raven combo over in the solo lane. They felt they need to try to put Raven behind, and that just ended up biting them quite a bit.
So over in the middle lane, 3 people from both teams. Actually, Neith is going to make her way back over to the dual lane. Thor trying to go for a little bit of cover damage, but you see he's still really under leveled, so not really going to do anything had he have even landed. Meanwhile, the Chronos is sitting a hefty level 16. We talked a lot about Scylla, but looking back over the other side, he decided to go for the Book of Thoth as well, and actually looking for a Wingblade on top.
He's got a lot of faith in his teammates here. He's got a lot of faith in the fact that Chronos also has a lot of ways to fight. He's got his ultimate. He has able to boost himself forward. And he's going to have that wing blade as well, so he's going to be able to get away from a lot of slowing situations. There's Neith actually coming from the flank here. Gonna stun out, well, snare out Banana right there. And now Alejandro going on in. We're gonna see him rip him to shreds. Monster hits absolutely nothing right there. Deep under tower. We're gonna see Scylla getting completely pressured here. No way out. Gonna dodge the Cataclysm. Looking for those cooldown timers, but unfortunately Alejandro just waiting for the shot right there. Will take him down. And the tower dive going to be successful for the White Wolves. They're going to rip on through this tower as they take the first major tower of the game and start their trend upwards. Now, it's Team Albatross looking to get into an even more dire situation.
Again, another instance where Thor dying in the way he did, especially without using his ultimate, really hurt them. They're not being the initiators, they're being the responders. And with the team fight that they have, that just isn't going to work for them. They're going to lose 2 towers for this, and that's a huge amount of gold. And even after this 2-tower loss, Guan, you might even lose his tier 1 tower just because he's been getting bullied out for so long. Really questionable ultimate from Thor. He might get punished severely for this, and in fact, he is going to get deleted for his efforts.
And I have to say, I actually have to praise as well. Here's him has played absolutely lights out so far when taking this fight. His Cataclysms, aside from that last one, have been fairly solid. He's locked away a lot of targets, he's done a good job of zoning, and his shields have been completely top-notch here. Now, we're definitely going to see Guan losing his tower here. The full 5-man rotation of White Wolf will be waiting under there. Welsh Wonder needs to leave now. He's got a quick fight with Ravana on his way, but he simply dodges on past that one, knowing he has nothing he can really do right there. But now 7k down is Team Albatross.
So unfortunately, Scylla, who's depending on a lot of CC to come out of Thor, depending on a lot of setup, as far as these early game team fights, they never actually connected. Team Albatross never was the aggressor. A lot of times, White Wolves were the people who actually decided, okay, we're going to go in, we're going to make sure that we take this buff or put some pressure onto this character.
And they've done a really solid job of that so far, and I want to see them just continue to pull this one off. They didn't really have the most impressive early game skirmishes in team fights, but they knew they didn't really need it. They could farm up, and they did an amazing job farming here. And now Team Albatross, actually on the back foot, but they still want to start fighting. Instead, the flank from Cathnodi will force them away here. Too much damage onto their main carry. Going to pull a lot of cooldowns, protecting him as Coffee barely escapes his life as well, using the Athena ultimate. It's going to be Team Albatross sent reeling from their attempt to tower push.
All the members of Team Albatross really feeling the hurt from the 7-8k deficit, and it's going to only grow because Gold Fury is about to start. No ultimates available on some key characters, for example, Scylla. So this should go over to the members of White Wolves. Albatross is not doing too well as they already lost their main damage dealer, Scylla. And even though it's a 2v3, all the members of White Wolves are able to keep up in damage as well as sustainability, while the other members of White Wolves take Gold Fury.
And absolutely nobody able to protect Scylla on the side of Team Albatross now, leading to the fact that the front line is able to pressure her completely, and there's no way for Scylla to completely keep herself safe on her own right there. So White Wolves are able to just negate the main factor for Team Albatross here, get the Gold Fury as well, and that fight went incredibly well for them right now. Now holding a 9-5 kill lead right here, the gold lead growing above 9,000 as well, and about to grow even further as they're aggressing on another tower here. Once they started, they have turned up to 11 and continue to turn up the pressure on Team Albatross, and Team Albatross seems to be completely folding under it.
White Wolves are so focused and so concentrated on how to approach every situation, at least in these last few moments. They've recognized where the weak link was in Thor, and they took advantage of it, and then they turned their attention over to Scylla. They said, okay, we've got some good backline harass. Their front line is no longer able to keep up. The same issue that we were talking about with Geb earlier, who has now flipped the script entirely, and maybe they can get something done here on the side of Team Albatross, but it might have bit them right in the foot as they bit off way more than they could chew. Even I'm a Monster not gonna do enough to set up a win for the guys on Team Albatross. They still get off a lot of damage on Hercules. He's gonna mitigate wounds, all that right back up, but White Wolves are taking command of this game.
It hit 3 targets. I'm about to hit 3 people, and their health bars barely budged right there. Here's had a shield available. We had the mitigate wounds from Hercules. This front line has become so monstrous for White Wolves right now that Team Albatross can barely do anything to it. And it's a complete reversal of fortune between these two teams right now. And it's almost ridiculous to see, but it's happening right now.
Thor on the other side of the map, trying to use individual farm. They've recognized their own weakness and tried to start to heal the process. I don't know if he's necessarily built correctly to deal with this kind of pressure. Usually, as a Thor, if you recognize you're behind, you go for the Breastplate of Valor before the Jotun's Wrath. If you even get the Jotun's Wrath, you transition from kind of a damage dealer to a tank. Maybe that could be different depending on who you are, but all in all, I think you could get better results as being a tanky style character rather than an aggressive style character, as the boulder comes out from Hercules, already setting up the damage. Thor immediately forced to use the Mjolnir's attunement to try and get out, and all it is just the front line and a World Weaver keeping 5 members of Team Albatross at bay as they circle around the Fire Giant on the side of White.
And I don't think Albatross has any way to come back in. This one right here is the Fire Giant. It's a bit too risky here. You've got Alejandro and you have Captain Odie when he needs to peel away from this, able to run off on a zoning mission here. They might have found a way through, and this will be a game of chance here, but White Wolves might have to step a little bit too close. Thor comes in, but doesn't really stun anybody here. Albatross will get the Fire Giant, and now they could have tried to turn this one around, but unfortunately, El Charlie's going to find a nice kill to kick things off. Bam, going to fall right there, and now Welsh Wonder on the run. Albatross off, licking their wounds, but they got the Fire Giant. They can hold on just a little bit longer, maybe. So they have staunched the bleeding ever so slightly off that play, only losing Banner right there. So all things considered, it's not too bad. But if they lose this they lose this Phoenix right here, it won't really be worth it.
I don't know about that. This is one of the few things that they can hold on to try and set themselves up back into the game. I mean, losing the Fire Giant would have spelled the end of the game. At least for the next couple of minutes, they've allowed themselves a slight reprieve. Giving up towers, not going to be the end of the world. Wait for your last character to come up, and he is now officially up. And then try to make a fight happen under the Phoenix to really leverage the advantage you have out of Fire Giant on 4 people.
All they're going to do at this point is hold the Phoenix right here, as they did find a way to staunch the bleeding. If they get a pick, that's even better right here. But Albatross really needs to step back, hold what they have, and just try to hold out a little bit longer, as they will even up with White Wolves later in the game. So all in all, like I said, a great play by Albatross, especially since they're able to mitigate any damages out there, prevent White Wolves from taking a Phoenix, and only lose 1 person in the process of stealing that away. So all things considered, a good play from Albatross.
So now Thor does have the Breastplate of Valor, still a little bit behind the outside. He's suffering a lot. They want to try and make an aggressive move onto this tower, and lost half of Scylla's health just for the Cataclysm goes out. Beast was already used. That's going to be a dead Scylla here soon. If they get just a little bit more damage, Sunbreaker used to try and engage, and it doesn't look like Scylla's going to be able to make it out. She's going to get Driving Strike taken out. That's the main damage already off the table. Chronos uses the rewind to get back into a safe position. Thor goes up into the air for the disengage, and it looks like all of the members of Team Albatross are slowly getting picked off, while White Wolves just takes them out one by one.
You know, 5-man Cataclysm to kick that off right there. And it's absolutely obliterating Albatross, even with that Fire Giant on all 5. And now this Phoenix is all but guaranteed to fall. It's 3 versus 5, and White Wolf riding some major momentum here. And they're looking to push on through for the edge. Vance trying to play forward and defend it, but the wall, it's only stunning out a few people right there. The stun from Chronos will do enough, and the first Phoenix will fall in favor of White Wolf. They're going to crush on through this momentum here, and Albatross going to start feeling the pressure kicked up. We're past 11 at this point, and now I want to see how much longer they can hold out here as Albatross getting completely annihilated under their own Phoenix right now. Banner needs 1 more hit, a good taunt from Athena. Koff going to keep him alive just a bit longer here, and Alejandro forced to retreat, but they don't care. They got 2 Phoenixes. They got a massive fight. Completely worth it for White Wolves.
White Wolves probably going to take this moment to clear out some jungle camp, clear out the Gold Fury back, get some finalized key items to finish off this last Phoenix, or the Titan, depending on how the fight goes. But this is exactly what I said not to do. Team Albatross wanted to try and be the aggressor here, and I was just saying, use this Fire Giant, use that leverage, try to catch them off guard under your Phoenix, or at least somewhere in your jungle, not at their tier 1 tower where you're automatically going to be in a bad spot. And the only person who can make a huge difference in these next few fights was the first person to get pushed under tower. Beads was automatically used once the driving strike was pushed out of Hercules to try and push Scylla under tower, and then all she had left was an Aegis to try and survive.
And I really have to praise the team fighting of White Wolves this game so far. That call in that team fight was incredible right there. Pearson was probably calling out the fact the beats were popped there, like you said, and he knew exactly where to go for that Cataclysm. Did a 5-man Cataclysm. Really great team synergy coming out from White Wolves here to absolutely take away that fight here. And not going to be having to force to use his ulti right there. And that's going to be a major cooldown down for this next fight here. And now White Wolves, they're in the perfect position to run away with it. Actually, they might just find a kill here and run off as Alejandro picks off Van. Poor man has not been able to make any kind of good impact this game here, as Alejandro has had his number from minute 1, it seems.
1-7 as a Thor. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who would get extremely discouraged after this game, and I honestly think that this is a game written in stone as far as what the result is going to be. I mean, there's not really much else you can do. Thor is extremely far behind. He's going into more damage, not recognizing the situation. At least in my opinion, there's I'm a Monster on the weakest character of the game, and he only lost half his health. That is definitely GG for Team Albatross. They're not going to be able to defend this Phoenix, and probably not the Titan, so they choose to go for it.
And they're going to make one last Hail Mary here. It'll be all over. That's going to be quite a lot of damage raining down on the top of White Wolves. It doesn't even matter right there. I'm Monster, like you said, the weakest member. Health bar barely budged right there. Team Albatross has to be completely discouraged by that right now. If you're still letting you see your Monster do like, maybe like a quarter of the health to the AD carry, you're going to be feeling some kind of tilt right about now.
I mean, honestly, I think Scylla is probably just frustrated at the jungler, and this might be what the situation is. They might just be frustrated with their jungler. It not necessarily is all his fault. There's a couple of things he could have done better, or a couple of decisions that he could have made differently. But at the end of the day, getting aggressed on so early and not having a decent response by the member of White or by the member of Team Albatross, it probably played a big impact on how the rest of this game worked.
It definitely did seem a lot like one team completely came together around the mid game, whereas the others started to completely fall apart around that jungle, maybe like you said. And Albatross, unfortunately, was a team to fall apart, whereas White Wolves just seemed to come together in a great team fighting competition there. And that really does seem what spelled the end of Albatross. They fell apart when it mattered the most.
So almost full builds on every character in the game, barring Chronos, who has a very heavy financial build, Bokatoth, as well as the Rod of Tahuti. Very expensive build, but outside of that, Neith sitting on full build, Ravana well past full build, very tanky, very bulky, like somewhere close to 500 health given to him from his 2 health items, and then on top of that, he just has a lot of damage. And then Hercules, of course, a very heavy frontliner, so such a difficult frontline to get past, and then 2 really scary backliners.
And they've been able to just completely shut out the backline as well as the frontline of Albatross completely folds under any kind of pressure right there. So White Wolves are almost completely unstoppable at this point. It's going to take a miracle of some sort, especially with all 3 Phoenixes being down once again as soon as they take out this left one here. And Team Albatross can't afford to defend it in the slightest. Also, to be forfeiting the game immediately here. But they're still going to lose at this Titan fight here as they're going to come to the final hour of this game. We're going to see one last Hail Mary. There's Vanna up in the air. They're looking for the top. They couldn't quite find it here. Alejandro just going to start putting the pressure from the Titan. 2 going to get stunned out by Ban. The cough coming in on 2 right there with a lot of damage. The Monster not really hitting enough as Captain Odie bringing out a huge kill. Coffee getting lower and lower by the second as Cataclysm takes him down. They're going to make their way back into the well here, but Akoro and Welsh Wonder in so much trouble here. Health bars on White Wolf sitting full right now. And that Titan going to bleed out rapidly under pressure. 30 minutes into the game, Team Albatross will fall to White Wolves. And that's going to be 17-5 for the final kill count. What a showing from White Wolves.
White Wolves showing that points from the Challenger Series doesn't tell the whole story. Because at this point, they were coming into a matchup that based on points, based on last week's results, they should have lost. But they ended up absolutely decimating Team Albatross, and credit to them. They had focus. They had, a plan. They went through with said plan. I feel like all that really happened to Team Albatross is they didn't recognize where their strengths were, and they ended up falling severely behind. And mind you, they had a really good start. Scylla came in with 3 kills before the 10-minute marker and was ready to just dominate the game moment after moment after moment. And this is why I kept hashing at the point that Thor needed to build defensively, because at that point, you're no longer the main damage dealer. You pass that right off to the Scylla. You pass that over to her because she has more than enough damage to set up your team. You become a giant CC monster and just rain down stuns. That's it. That's all you need to do.
And unfortunately, the side of Team Albatross just didn't seem to be able to support each other when it mattered most here, and ended up just falling apart at the seams, and that's what enabled White Wolves to walk through with a very, very massive victory. Another thing to remember is only week 2 of the Challengers Cup, so realistically, this is we're going to start seeing the teams start to separate from each other here. We're going to see the teams that might have gotten unlucky with the random seeding start pulling ahead a lot here, and this is what I'm really excited about to see this week. this is the week where we get to see everybody start to clash incredibly hard. So, all in all, Shadow Boy, any final thoughts in the game, and any final thoughts leading towards this next game?
I think that if I had anything to say, Team Albatross, we might have suffered a bit of a morale loss there. Just go ahead, take a couple of moments to just practice your mid-game team synergy. I think that there was a couple of moments where you all could have easily come together with some great strategy, and then there was also some moments where I think that certain rotations were a little questionable, like that Athena rotation for the aggressive play over in the soul lane that led to those two dying, and then the Gold Fury. A couple of moments like that, just review it. But again, that's just spiel from a caster way off in North America. Take it as you will.
Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, you have to hold your head high. You are still only in week 2, so hopefully we see them come back and attempt to do it again next week with a little bit of preparation done. But we'll be right back as we just about have another game ready to go for you guys. Do stay tuned. This is EU Challenger Cup Series brought to you by Tier Monster. We'll see you guys in a few minutes.